I love Left 4 Dead 2. While I was only ever able to get into the game far past its heyday, it's suffice to say that in spite of its age, Left 4 Dead remains one of the greatest co-op games ever made. From the lovable cast of characters to the grungy, sick, destroyed world they live in, this game has lived rent-free in my mind ever since I picked it up. But with Valve having moved on to greener pastures, you may wonder, what new things are left to experience in this dead game? Though Valve may no longer have much to do with Left 4 Dead's development, make no mistake, the game is alive and well, with new experiences available for you to try out courtesy of its community. But which ones are worth the time and effort the most, and which ones are better off forgotten? That's what we're here to find out. This is Mudkip's Map Review. For our first episode, we're going to take a look at a custom campaign that does something rather unique with its setting. Rather than using its locale as a simple backdrop and a little beyond that, Cambalache, Buenos Aires stands out in that the layout of its map is meant to be an accurate recreation of the streets of Buenos Aires. Well, give or take a few apocalyptic touches. And the fun doesn't end with the layout. In addition to recreating the streets of Buenos Aires in Left 4 Dead, the map developers have also taken the time to fill to the brim with all sorts of references to Argentinian culture throughout the campaign, in the form of custom assets. Custom zombies, weapons, vehicles, and hot drinks for your enjoyment are all strewn about the map for players to find. And for me to miss completely. America, baby, yeah! All joking aside, it's clear the developers of the map have a great love for their culture, which reflects in their work, and I'm unfortunately not well versed enough in it to catch everything. If there's anything I miss, and believe me there's plenty, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. But enough talk, let's get moving! I apologize in advance for butchering the Spanish language. We start off in a quaint little house in the barrios with so much detail packed inside, I'm convinced this is the developer's actual house. A map on the bed tells us we have to get to a nature preserve to escape the horde. After taking out some zombies camping outside the door, we step out into a small little courtyard connected to the back of a tattoo parlor. And it's in this courtyard where the campaign reveals one of its biggest problems right out of the gate. No pun intended.
Where's the key? Where's the key? Where's the beautiful key? Find the key, find the key, oh how happy you'll be.
This won't be the last time they do this, by the way, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Pointless padding. There's no reason to make us look for the key to this gate. It's not exciting or challenging, it's just there for the sake of drawing out the campaign a little bit more. After finding the key in the very back of the tattoo parlor and unlocking the gate, we finally start the campaign in earnest. Though we don't travel very far before encountering another of this campaign's major issues as we fumble about wandering around trying to figure out where to go until I finally figure out we're supposed to go under this lowered garage door to proceed. For your information, the base campaigns of Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2 are all designed in a way that lets the player know where to proceed using a mixture of lighting, terrain, and landmarks that draw the player's attention. It's never vague where you're supposed to go. Cambalache does not make it clear where we have to go. The path forward is never clear to the player, leaving them bumbling about trying to figure out where to go. It's not fun and only serves to draw out the campaign even more. Anyway, after ducking under the garage, some local news I'm too free to understand, and some more fumbling about before realizing we're supposed to go through the closed window, we're back on track to the safe house, more or less. Eventually finding it after more fumbling and vague path after vague path after vague path until finally getting to catch our breath in the back of a van.
Lock that door. Tremendous.
Thankfully, the second part of the campaign, Yadrog, isn't as bad in regards to the map design. After stepping out of the van, we're greeted to a blocked-off, barricaded city street overrun with infected. What else is new? After busting through a coffee shop, we find our path blocked, and the only way through is past a crashed ambulance. But when we try to open its doors, it starts blaring its siren, kickstarting a horde event. And it's during this event where the campaign's second key hunt takes place, setting the survivors around digging through stacks of paper and dead bodies for the key to the ambulance. Unlike the first key hunt, this event feels more like something that belongs in a campaign. There's a sense of urgency with the ambulance attracting zombies, and the game makes it known where you should try to look for the key, instead of expecting the players to figure it out themselves. It contributes something, which is more than can be said for the previous one. We find the keys, get the ambulance open, and shut off its sirens, allowing us to proceed through the strip mall. Ducking into a smashed-in storefront, we plunge into the sewers, popping up back on the street in front of a train station, where we make our escape. The sewer area has a lot of potential for interesting gameplay, and capitalizes on none of it. There's a lot of tight space, but the devs don't take advantage of it very much with any interesting events. Not even a tank fight. Just go in and pop out. Not much else to say about this part of the campaign, other than note that you can't ride the skateboard melee they added in, so what's even the point? Campaign's ruined. 0 out of 10. Delete this.
That was a joke.
train we boosted from the Adrogue has taken our survivors to Capital Federal, and we step out onto the platform of a recreation of what I assume is Constitucion railway station. This is gorgeous. The mapmaker knocked it out of the park with this section of the map. I don't believe there's anything like this in any of the other maps you'll find in Left 4 Dead 2. But as breathtaking as the scenery is, we've still got to move, and who should we run into but our old friend the church guy, who is somehow alive, and made it all the way from Pennsylvania to Buenos Aires somehow.
Who's there? Is someone there? I've got a bell in here!
If we live through this, I'm gonna freaking kill that guy!
I think he left his ears back in Riverside. Thus begins the highlight of this section of the map, as the church guy activates the station's stereo system, blaring music over the loudspeakers, attracting a horde of zombies. But instead of holding them off until church guy lets us in like last time, we are instead tasked with destroying the speakers directly, blowing them off the ceiling with gunfire, one by one, until none remain. This is a pretty fun section, and while I would have loved it if we got some weapons that could blow them up in one hit, I still like how this segment was handled, letting the survivors take matters into their own hands instead of biding their time like usual. You know, I can't help but notice that throughout this entire campaign we haven't fought a single tank. Never mind. After taking out Church Tank, we're free to enter the closet he was hiding out in, turning the power back on and making our way down to the subway terminus, where we hop into a subway car and wrap up this part of the campaign.
Bill, you might want to use your med kit.
Or not. Depending on the whims of the game director, the subway tunnel will either be blocked, forcing us to crawl out of the tunnel onto the city streets, or we'll reach our destination without issue, popping out inside another train station. I assume this one is Retiro railway station. Either way, we find a radio and chat with the guy on the other end about a way to escape. I think.
Se pudrió todo en Retiro. Salgan de ahí. No sé. Vamos a buscar cómo irnos por otro lado. Quizás el río.
Given what happens later, I assume he's talking about a boat, but I can't be sure. I'm no Spanish, I'm an American! In the train station, after another key hunt and holdout section, we blast a hole in a barricade with an artillery gun and pile into a bus to make our way to the ecological reserve. If we pop out in the streets, however, we instead find Jimmy Gibbs Jr.'s stock car, which has also somehow made its way to Argentina, and have to find a key card for a CETA trailer to kill a tank to get to some gas cans to refill the car. Why can't we just find the gas cans around the map instead of this convoluted mess? I don't know. Probably the same reason they give us so many when we only need to. Moving on. Either way, it all comes to a head when our survivors finally reach the ecological reserve, the final stretch before we can escape. The ecological reserve is pretty much what you'd expect out of a gauntlet finale. Get to the end, infinite zombies, don't die horribly. Pushing through the gates, alarms blare, and zombies pour out of the foliage as we run for our lives towards the boat dock. Nothing much else to write about other than this fork in the road. I can hear a tank somewhere in the background, but I'm not sure. Oh, shit! Well, that happened. After taking out the tank, we beat feet to the beach where our ride is waiting. And after clambering over some wooden boards, we ship off and bring this campaign to a close. In summary, Cambalache, Buenos Aires is a mostly fun experience made by people with a great love for their culture and heritage. Even so, the campaign still suffers from a number of pacing issues, stopping the game dead in its tracks on multiple occasions for key hunts that pad out the length, as well as some issues with the layout, making it very unclear on occasion where the player is supposed to go until they find it by accident after wandering around. These problems can drag down the fun factor of the map immensely, especially on higher difficulties. I recommend in the future the designers of the campaign take after some of the map-making trips employed by the official developers, as these issues stem less from the landscape they set out to recreate, and more from how they've chosen to route the survivors through it. Redo some lighting here, rearrange some debris there, add a few more landmarks, and bada bing bada boom. You're good to go. I give this campaign a score of 7 out of 10. Until next time, I'm the good Mudkip, and stay legendary.